So now that we have our PNG exported from Illustrator, we're going to bring it into Photoshop and we're going to sort of take a look at this. And what we want to do is, one, inspect the edges to make sure that the edges are clean, that there's no white anywhere, and this looks pretty good. We can also see that there's no aliasing from one grayscale to the next. If we look here, we can see we're going from the 90% gray, and then there's a nice even color grayscale gradient up and then back down. This is a nice step, but we've got the black at the very edge going up to 90% for the platform. So now that we have this, the next step is to change the color space. Go to Image Mode, Grayscale. And then now we're going to generate the mesh. So we're going to go to 3D, New Mesh from Layer, Depth Map 2, and then Solid Extrusion. Now we'll have to wait a little bit, and so depending on your computer, in terms of the amount of RAM you have, the amount of hard disk space you have, this is pretty memory intensive and can really clog up your computer. So you may have to reduce the resolution. I believe we exported the original image at 900 pixels per inch when we did the export. You can drop that down to 800, 700, 600, and it's just going to make the mesh a little bit rougher, but it'll be easier to work with. So here's our mesh. So now we're in 3D space, and we've got this tool here. So if we want to orbit around the mesh so that we can inspect it, because right now we're looking at it kind of head on and we're not really getting a good sense of sort of the depth of it, we just click outside of the model and drag. And so now we can see the black is down here and pure white is at the highest point. So this was like 50 or 60% black. So it's sort of sitting right in the middle space. And everything's behaving more or less as expected. It's much taller than I expected it to be, or wished it to be. So I'm going to zoom in here. So here you can see we've got on this little center tool here, we've got 3 different little pieces of geometry, and each one of these does something different to the model. So the first one will move it on an axis, so on the y-axis, on the x-axis, and on the z-axis, so up and down, left and right, forward and backward. This rotates the model, again, on the axis, and then this scales. So the scale is the one that we're really concerned with, which is we want to scale this so it's closer in height as a proportion of width and depth to what we actually are trying to reach. So I'm just going to grab this and push it in towards the center. And you can see it's scaling the model down. And it's starting to look a little bit less extreme in terms of the height. We're starting to see like the surface pattern just looks like a pattern. These look like blisters that might actually hold something. And so now this looks pretty good. We'll be able to adjust this again when we actually move into the 3D modeling space. But for right now, we've got a mesh that looks close to what we want. So we're going to go to 3D, export, and we're going to set it as an STL, which is a standard 3D printing size. And I'm going to reset the size of it. So you can see right now it's 1 inch by 1 inch by 0.078 inches. And I actually drew this at 8 inches. And so now I'm getting much closer, which is 8 by 8 by about 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to export that. I'll put it in with the image, and it's an STL. Click Save. And now we just wait.